Hello again, this is Father Christopher Etheridge bringing you this daily gospel and homily from the United States. Today is Monday, August 12th. We are in the 19th week in Ordinary Time, and our gospel today comes from Matthew 17:22-27. As Jesus and his disciples were gathering in Galilee, Jesus said to them, "The Son of Man is to be handed over to men, and they will kill him, and he will be raised on the third day." And they were overwhelmed with grief. When they came to Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax approached Peter and said, "Does not your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes," he said. When he came into the house, before he had time to speak, Jesus asked him, "What is your opinion, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth take tolls or census tax? From their subjects or from foreigners?" When he said, "From foreigners," Jesus said to him, "Then the subjects are exempt. But that we may not offend them, go to the sea, drop in a hook, and take the first fish that comes up. Open its mouth, and you will find a coin worth twice the temple tax. Give that to them for me and for you." The Gospel of the Lord. Our Gospel today opens with Jesus' second prediction of his passion, death, and resurrection, as recorded in Matthew's Gospel. We will remember that in the previous chapter, chapter 16, Jesus had begun to predict his passion, death, and resurrection immediately following Peter's profession of faith. In this second prediction, Jesus begins to provide a few more details about his suffering. Whereas earlier he said he would simply suffer greatly and be killed, today he indicates that his suffering will involve a betrayal. The Son of Man is to be handed over to men. Notice that in this subtle announcement of his coming betrayal at the hands of one of his own disciples, Jesus is also implicitly proclaiming his innocence. It is not that the Son of Man will be caught in any crime or offense against the law, but that he would be handed over. With this second announcement, Jesus is purifying the faith of his disciples all the more. Who would be the one to hand him over, they might have thought? Would it be one of the Pharisees? Would it be a close friend or family member? Would it be one of the 12? We know that as the gospel story unfolds that it was in fact one of the 12, one of Jesus' close friends. It's a sobering reminder to all of us that in addition to the great potentiality to be saints, we also have the potential to be the worst of sinners. Thus, we need to cling to God's mercy, daily implore Him for the grace of perseverance, and always seek to do His will and cooperate with His inspirations. But we should also remember that in His being handed over to men, Jesus was not robbed of His life. Rather, Jesus gave it up of Himself. Jesus was not sent to His death. Jesus went to His death. He did so freely out of his great love for his Father and for us. As he says in the Gospel of John 10:18, "This is why the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own." How should we respond to such love? Well, let us first see how the disciples responded today. Matthew tells us they were overwhelmed with grief. Instead of trusting in God's plan that Jesus' sacrifice on the cross would lead to his resurrection, as Jesus predicted, the disciples were distraught. Many times we too can respond to our own sufferings or the sufferings of another with grief, despair, or distress. It's a normal human response. But remember, Christ calls us to live not a normal human life, but a Christian human life, a life rooted in faith, hope, and love. We have to trust and reaffirm that trust on many different occasions, that God directs all things to our greatest good, which is our salvation. Nothing escapes His providence, not even betrayal, suffering, and death. Rather, His power is manifest in our lives by turning these dark moments into moments of grace and mercy. Thus, to return to our question on how we should respond to Jesus' willingness to suffer betrayal and death for our salvation, we should respond with love. If Jesus wanted great deeds, great projects, great books, great humiliations, great sacrifices, and the list can go on, he could ask anyone else in the world to give it to him. What Jesus asks of you and me is the only thing that you and I can give him, that most singular, personal gift of all, our love. Jesus asked for love in return for love. And what a humble request it is. For if we really think about it, the love we can return to Jesus is nowhere near the greatness of his love for us. His love for us always exceeds our love for him. And yet he wants even that little love which we can give him. It's a great consolation to his sacred heart. Today, as we continue to reflect on our gospel, and as we remember the saintly life of Saint Jane Frances de Chantal, let us ask the Lord for the grace to neither despair nor become despondent before the cross of suffering, but to embrace every circumstance in life, good or bad, as an opportunity to respond with love for the great love with which Christ has loved us. May God bless you.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing the gospel and homily, I invite you to share it with someone you know who may also find it rewarding, and also to subscribe to the Catholic Voice channel. Please see in the description below if you would like to receive a text message for each daily gospel and homily. Please also keep our missionary priests throughout the world in your prayers. Thank you, and God bless.